Am I the butthole for calling my sister a loser and making fun of her? So I, 28 female, have a little brother, 22, and he and his wife, 23, are expecting. This is great and the two plus our families are very excited. Obviously, she has a bump considering she's quite a few months in and obviously a lot of her clothes don't fit. She has a couple really cute maternity clothes but according to my brother, she mostly just wears his things. He's like 6'5" and she's like 5'3" so it works out perfectly lol. My sil was out with her mom and sisters and so my brother invited me and our younger sister, 21, to hang out since it's been a while. We were watching a movie and my brother had a question about the plot so he looked something up on his phone. As he was putting his phone down and turning it off, our sister noticed his wallpaper which was a silly picture of Sil drowning in my brother's clothes. I wooed immediately and teased him a little but our sister went she looks horrible onk. I said no she looks cute because she really did. She was also posing in a way that made it pretty hard to see her face so sister was definitely just being weird. Sister replied, nah she looks pretty terrible. I really respect you bro because if I were you I'd have run for the hills. My brother was speechless and looked very confused. So I basically told her that she was a total loser and laughed but in disbelief? My sister went frick you before leaving angrily. My brother just said that he can't believe she said that, but we just ate something and I left an hour later. My sister called me some time later and said she wanted me to apologize for making fun of her and promised to always take her side from now on but I said no what she said was out of pocket and mean. She called me a jerk and hasn't spoken to me since. My aunt also texted me and said I should apologize. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole she sounds extremely immature. Not the butthole. You don't owe your sister an apology. She owes your brother an apology for being catty and mean. Your sister went from 0 to crafty in 2 seconds flat, with no warning and for no reason. What the frick did she expect? Not the butthole. Not the butthole, your sister's got some serious and pathetic issues. Am I the butthole for uninviting my dad for my graduation and telling him I never want to see him again? I, female, 22 and my dad have had a tumultuous relationship for the last 5 years. Growing up I was a daddy's girl, I was his password, wallpaper and profile picture child. I was his tail as a child and went with him everywhere, people knew me as the apple of his eye. Unbeknownst to me for most of my parents' married life, they had issues and finally divorced when I was 12. My life, in my childish head, was crushed. I idolized and adored my father to the point whereby I resented my mother. As I grew up and matured, I started to see things a lot clearer and struggled with feelings of disillusionment. To cut a long story short, I realized quite quickly in my older teen years, 17, that my dad manipulated and gaslit me throughout my childhood and my mother was never the villain. Throughout my life he was forcing me to take sides in wars I should have never been involved in but at 19 I finally refused to take a side. He was abusive in every way but was a master manipulator. This enraged him and our relationship never recovered. We had multiple meetings and conversations to mend our relationship where he'd shed crocodile tears but we'd always end up having a blowout argument where he would say awful things and we wouldn't speak for months. Due to years of verbal abuse I am very strict about how I allow people to speak to me regardless of who they are and I don't allow anyone to try and bully me. My dad disowned me multiple times and said countless awful things to me but I always forgave him because he was my father and I loved him. Fast forward to my graduation. We haven't spoken in months at this point which was quite standard but I invited him to attend. My mom's husband who he despises for no good reason but has helped heal so many of my scars and has been more of a father figure will also be in attendance. This enraged him, we once again had a blowout argument and he called me his greatest disappointment. I have never been a crier but I've shed more tears because of my dad than laughs with him. I finally gave up and told him that I will not continue to be subjected to his abuse and he's no longer welcome in my life. My family thinks I am the butthole because of how harshly I spoke to him, that I chose stepdad over him and that I broke his heart. His entire family has disowned me and they're all blocked on my phone after sending me awful messages. He has had some health complications straight after and I feel like they blame me for this as well. My siblings have disowned me and speak badly about me and the situation. I don't think I am the butthole because I suffered years of his abuse and don't feel I deserve to be spoken to like that. Edit, my siblings still live under his roof and I feel like this is why they have cut me off. We have all experienced his verbal abuse but currently I am the only one financially independent enough to be on my own. Not the butthole. You're acting like a responsible adult, he's acting like a spoiled child. He should know better. Not the butthole he's mad you are learning what healthy relationships look like and creating boundaries. If he can't respect you/your boundaries he can see himself out. Not the butthole. You have a right to remove your father from your life for what he's done. He sabotaged your relationship with your mother and hurt you in the process. But by cutting him out your relationship with the other family members may have to change as well. Sometimes that is worth the peace of mind, and sometimes it isn't. The family blocked you. Case closed. Duh. Live your life, be happy, graduate, write on Reddit, do whatever you want with your life. Am I the butthole for leaving dinner early and causing a scene in front of my wife's family? Let me preface this by saying that I, 35 male, love my wife, 40 female. I just think she can be a bit inconsiderate at times. My son, 15 male, has what my wife calls a deadpan voice. While I admit he doesn't show much enthusiasm when speaking, I think he has a right to express himself in his own way. My wife, however, insists that he needs to be more enthusiastic and vocal. She often tells him to speak up or say it with feeling, and I can tell that it gets to him. My wife recently started taking a different approach, which I can tell really bothers him. When addressing him, she talks in the most enthusiastic voice she can muster. She'll even go so far as to clap her hands and make facial expressions as she talks to him. How was school today? Tell me all about it. Speak loudly and with enthusiasm. Think kindergarten teacher talking to her students. My son just looks at her like she's crazy, and I can tell he's embarrassed. I have tried to privately talk to my wife about this, but she doesn't seem to get it. She insists that her way is the right way and that our son needs to learn how to be more outgoing. So fast forward to yesterday. We were celebrating Christmas at my sister-in-law's house, and my son asked me to pass the gravy. My wife, in her usual enthusiastic voice, started saying, "Say it with feeling, honey. Can you ask for the gravy with enthusiasm?" I snapped. It's one thing to do this when it's just the two of us, but doing this in front of our family was too much. I got up, took my son, and took him to the movies, leaving my wife with the other family members. After we got back, my wife pulled me aside and absolutely ripped into me for causing a scene. She said that I was embarrassing her and that I was out of line. I told her that I was tired of her trying to fix our son's personality and that I felt this was a good opportunity to make a point. My wife's family hasn't said anything to me, but I've been getting a lot of judgmental looks from them. I just wanted to stick up for my son, but did I go too far? Am I the butthole? Loudly and with enthusiasm, not the butthole. Not the butthole, your wife is mocking your son in front of your family. It's ridiculous. Not the butthole. She's purposely embarrassing him in front of the family and treating him like a toddler. Your son is 15. Am I the butthole for expecting my manager to pay for dinner? Hi everyone. My manager wrote our team an email saying, "Dear colleagues, we are approaching the Christmas holiday and it's time to celebrate our past amazing year. I want to thank you for all your hard work, dedication. To show my appreciation, I would like to invite everyone out to a Christmas gathering." The email continues to propose a date, time, and location. Anyway, I attended the dinner and had a wonderful time. It was at a brew pub, so everyone ordered 2 to 3 drinks a person plus dinner. We stayed for approximately 2 hours and I was the first one to leave. I got up out of my seat and said something along the lines of, "Okay everyone, I need to get going. Thank you, manager's name, for taking us out. I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas." Then my manager says, "Wait, my name, did you pay for your tab?" And I looked at him awkwardly and said, "No, sorry." Then a few seconds passed and I said, "I apologize, I'll go find the waiter and request my tab." Then after another awkward couple seconds he says, "No worries. I'll pay for everyone." I asked if he was sure, and he said yes. Then I thanked everyone again and left. Coming back to work after Christmas break, some of my colleagues said I was being rude and I shouldn't expect him to pay for everything. From my viewpoint, I read the email as if our manager was paying, since he said he wanted to show his appreciation and thank you all for your hard work. Also, it's important to note that all managers at my work received a $15,000 Christmas bonus. All other staff received a $10 Starbucks gift card. Am I the butthole? Should I apologize to everyone for being rude? Thank you. Edit, to clarify a few points. 1. I don't think my manager was joking. He seemed genuinely serious. 2. Some have mentioned that the company typically pays for social meals such as this. Our company does not do this, and the tab was entirely on our manager. This is why I mentioned the Christmas bonus. Also, there was no clarification to pay only for my drinks, as some stated, their company will pay for dinner but limited drinks. He simply said, "Did you pay for your tab?" Which I assume is everything. 3. I talked with more of my coworkers that attended the dinner since I made this post, and several of them stated that they expected the same thing, that he was paying, and they were happy they weren't put into that awkward situation. For the coworkers who thought I was being rude, it was because I assumed beforehand and that we can afford it. I work with a team of scientists/engineers, so we make decent money. Our team consists of 13 people, so the bill was $400 plus a tip. Not the butthole. I would have assumed the same thing as you. Every holiday party the employers had in my life, they paid for it. It's possible he always intended to pay but made a horrible joke out of you. Either way, he's not great. If anyone invites me to some place they want to go, I establish who will pay ahead of time because I can't afford to eat out very often. You should talk to him and tell him that. Calling you out in front of everyone was extremely disrespectful. Had he been drinking much? If a manager invites their team out, it's assumed that they are paying. Not the butthole. When a boss invites the team out to celebrate, it should be paid for by the boss, who can usually submit the receipt to the company for reimbursement. Not the butthole. Not the butthole. That wording would make me think it was being covered. Am I the butthole for standing my ground on my tradition? My BF, 30 male, and I, 28 female, have been dating for over a year. We live separately. He lives in a small apartment above his parents, who are the landlords. They live in the rest of the space of the house, 50s. Our relationship feels like years of being emotionally in sync, genuine conversations, supporting each other at our toughest times, helping each other reach our highest goals, and naps. Lots of naps. We have something special and we just work to make it grow even more. I'm Jewish and he's Greek Christian Orthodox. We're not crazy religious, we treat the holidays like a tradition with our families, and generally respect each other's differences. This year, he and his family invited me to their Christmas parties. They have second Christmas. So he and I thought it would be fine if I brought my menorah to his place. He gave me the okay since it's his space, so I brought it and put it on his windowsill. That was a family tradition of mine, it's how the holiday goes, and I wanted to share it with him and his family since they were sharing their tradition with me. I'm not doing anything with it. It's sitting there until I light it up after sunset, and turn it off when we go to bed. I brought some latkes to Christmas Eve dinner, they loved it. And he and I planned out the best gifts we could for all of his family members. Turns out they did the same. I never had a proper Christmas celebration with gift giving, and people genuinely enjoying each other's company. I had a lot of fun and felt loved and included. When I came back to my apartment from being out of town, I get a call from my BF sounding frantic and overwhelmed. His mom wanted the menorah moved from the windowsill to the table. I was shocked by this comment, cause 1, he lives in an apartment above his parents, and 2, I felt very uncomfortable and unwelcome just by bringing a tradition of mine to share. I deal with every small and large amount of hate as a Jew every day. The least I want is a loved one creating hate and not even seeing it. It really stings it's turned out like this, and as much as I'd like to educate her now, she's a grandma to a newly born first-generation American, so her hands are full, they're from Croatia. I educated my BF about her comment, and told him I'm keeping my distance from her until we have the chance to speak. He is understandably disappointed with her. He did tell her about our discussion and she simply didn't know about the tradition. But his dad got involved, and wants to have a talk to set some ground rules with us? My BF wants to do his best to be the mediator, but him being the messenger is all he can do. I told him flat out, it's too late. No matter what she, now both his parents, can do to make it up to me, it's burned in my memory for the rest of my life. The only way they can make up for it is to learn from it. So, am I the butthole for distancing myself from my BF's mom after she made a comment about my menorah? Greater than she thought it was an eyesore for the neighborhood cause it was the only one with a menorah. You should add that to your post. It changes everything, because it shows she is prejudiced, not simply ignorant. Not the butthole. Info OP, okay, I'm gonna need some clarification on the whole mom wanting to move the menorah thing. Did she make a big deal out of it? Did she demand that it be moved, or did she ask that it be moved? Because. Greater than his mom wanted the menorah moved from the windowsill to the table. Makes it sound like she was just ignorant of the tradition and might have not raised a fuss if you just explained that it was your tradition and that it would mean a lot to you to keep it in the window. Now, if she raised a fuss over it and made a demand claiming that the apartment is an extension of her space, then your reaction makes sense. That said, I'm not sure that's the case, because she didn't even ask you not to do the menorah, or remove it entirely, she just asked to have it moved within the same space. Info, to clarify, did she know that a menorah goes on a windowsill? Why did she want it moved? Info, did they mention why they wanted it moved, and when did they say they wanted it moved? The menorah in the window is really just a Hanukkah time thing, right? Hanukkah has been over for several days now. Did they take down all of the holiday decoration, or is it just the menorah they want removed? If it's the only thing they want taken down, that's a bit strange, but if they took down everything else it seems they could just want all of the decorations removed. Am I the butthole for not accepting my mother's boyfriend? I'm 21 and still live with my mother, but I contribute financially. After we finish Christmas dinner, she tells me her boyfriend she met online is coming to visit for Christmas at midnight. 6 p.m. the next day, he's still here. She tells me that he just lives with us now. I tell her that this is not okay and I don't feel comfortable, because I don't know this man and my door doesn't shut properly. She tells me that I don't pay her enough to have any complaints, he won't hurt me, and that she cannot disrespect me in her own house, because she is the only one who can be slighted in this situation. I tell her that I'd have at least wanted to first meet him in a public place on my own terms so that I could feel comfortable before this strange man just inhabited my space. She says she deserves to be happy. Sometimes things don't go my way, I'm just jealous and have no room in my heart for anybody, and she apologizes by saying verbatim, "I'm sorry you feel that way, but you don't get to make any demands here." Background on him: he's 50 years old with a child in another state. He terminated his lease and left everything behind to come and live with my mother, but stayed back to have Christmas with his daughter and couldn't renew his lease, so coming here was an emergency. He came here with no job and no money saved up. I admit I was quite cold to her after that, and acted cordial but mostly indifferent with this new fellow. I also pushed back at her attempt to include him in quite literally everything we do. This all infuriated her. Several times, she's gotten weepy and says she's being forced to choose between her boyfriend and her daughter, but she'll do it for me because she's used to not being happy. I knew she was bluffing and tried to be stone-faced through all this crying. He's still here. Did I overreact? No, you didn't overreact. She just moved someone in that you don't know. And just expects you to be okay with it? If you can get out, let her see what she has brought into her life in bed. Not the butthole, get the heck out of there ASAP. She's about to find out she's invited a complete lout into her life. Unless by some happy twist, he's actually a decent guy. Am I the butthole for introducing my girlfriend to my nephew? I, 26 female, have a sister, 36 female, and a nephew, 7 male, that I love very much. The other day my sister called and asked if I could have my nephew for the day, possibly for a sleepover, since she wanted to go out with her fiancé and have a quiet night. I said I would. So she dropped him by an hour later. We went out to the park, played in the snow, came back and painted a little, and finally we were baking when my girlfriend, 30 female, rang the doorbell. She told me she had to work for the day but had managed to bring back order to her office and finally left a little earlier than usual. She is some kind of a workaholic, so it was really sweet that she made it. Anyway, I introduced her to my nephew and they immediately hit it off. We ate dinner together and even played Uno. My girlfriend doesn't really like kids, but my nephew sure was an exception. My sister came the next morning to pick him up. My girlfriend had left early in the morning, but my nephew obviously couldn't stop talking about her. My sister asked me who he was talking about and I explained the situation. My sister has met my girlfriend but doesn't really know her well. But we've been dating for 7 months. Sister got mad at me saying she left my nephew with me and not with someone who is essentially a stranger to him. She said I should have known better than to make him spend time with her and that I should have let her know that my GF was with us also. I said it really wasn't that big of a deal and we all had fun. She said I needed to grow up and start thinking like an adult. She got my nephew and left, saying she would think twice before leaving him with me again. Did I do something wrong? Am I the butthole? Not the butthole, it was not a random fling but a serious GF and you never left him. Not the butthole. I could understand her feelings if you left him with her alone, or if you brought around some real dirtbags. In the context you described though, she is being completely unreasonable. Not the butthole. It's your girlfriend. Your sister doesn't get to dictate who you have in your house, especially significant others. Unless your girlfriend has some safety issue qualities, anger issues, etc., there's no reason you can't have your so in your house when your nephew is there. And it's not like she's a brand new relationship. You've been together for a while. Am I the butthole for telling my husband that I won't pay more bills while he is laid off? My husband has been laid off for 3 weeks now. He works in trade where this isn't uncommon and he saved some money to help supplement unemployment for when this time came. Well, he's getting less from unemployment than he expected and his savings is dwindling quickly. We also both contribute to a shared savings which will be tapped into if necessary. My friend's husband owns a business and offered him $1,000 a week for some outdoor, labor-intensive side work, under the table. Husband won't call because he thinks he will be fine without it and is saving it as a last resort. Well, last night, he asks if I can start paying a few extra bills while he's off. I initially said yes but then got to thinking, why should I fork out more money so he can sit home and watch TV, nap, and play video games all day? He could work 1 to 2 days to make up this amount and enjoy the other days off at home if he wanted. We have a 1-year-old who goes to daycare every day and this is literally what his days look like. He had projects he wanted to get done but hasn't touched them. We've only been together 2.5 years and this is the first layoff we've gone through, so still navigating it. But I always take care of myself. If I were laid off, I'd be hustling to pay my bills, not expecting someone else to pay them. I'll add that he does pay a majority of bills. He pays the mortgage while I pay all utilities. We split daycare costs 60-40 and split our food service plan. He wants to do daycare 50-50 and me to pay the food delivery, which will mean $300 to $400 more added to my responsibilities. He makes more than double my income. While I can afford to pay this, it will eat nearly all my discretionary income for the month. Am I the butthole for telling him I'm not going to pay more than my usual share because I'm essentially paying for his vacation? Everybody sucks here. Your husband sucks, as it is unfair to expect you to start paying bills when he has job offers. You suck as you're both married, yet it seems very me versus him. You act like you're roommates in terms of the split of the finances, yet if you were to divorce it wouldn't be viewed like that. Why get married if you don't trust each other with money? Your husband has also only been laid off 3 weeks, he probably deserves some holiday in that time, hence the video game playing. But if it carried on like this for months, he would be not the butthole. He has a job offer that he will not take, because he trusts you to foot the bill. You are paying for his free vacation. Am I the butthole for not eating food my mom touched? I'm not on good terms with my mom and don't live with her as a result. Today she made me go with her to a restaurant with my brother, which I really did not want to do, but I had to, or I'd risk being forced to move back in with her. I ordered 2 grilled cheese and fries, and for some reason she picked up my sandwich with her bare hands to check if it was cooked enough. I'm very particular about eating food that someone else has touched, and I know for a fact she changes her grandson's diapers and never washes her hands afterwards, so there was no way I was eating the grilled cheese after she touched it. She scolded me and told me to grow the frick up and complained about me until I was having an anxiety attack. I feel like absolute crap. Should I have been less picky, and am I the butthole? Not the butthole. You don't randomly handle other people's food without permission. The only reason she'd do it is because she doesn't respect you as your own person. Duh. I think she was doing that to mess with you. If a grilled cheese sandwich isn't cooked, it's just a sandwich. No harm done. So there was no need for her to touch it. Am I the butthole for leaving the holiday gathering? I, 21 female, am currently in college but have come home to my parents' house to visit my family for the holidays. I am on my way to getting a degree in chemistry, which will be relevant later. For context, I have an anxious child who used to cry a lot and caused my parents a lot of stress. On the other hand, my sister Liz, 19 female, was always very laid back and happy. My parents were always closer to her because, I will admit, she was an easier child to get along with. I did not make raising me very easy, lol. Because of that, my parents have always been more involved in her life. I know that it's silly, but I used to get upset because they would always brag about her by putting me down. I can recall multiple holidays where their contribution to the family discussion was Liz is so outgoing and the star of her ballet recital. She's so much nicer to deal with than you/throwaway generic 56. We nearly didn't have Liz because you/throwaway generic 56 was so hard to deal with. Every time I would get upset afterwards, they would tell me that I would be a lot more lovable if I cried less. I took that message to heart, and I'm proud to say that the last time I cried was when my father called me manipulative 6 years ago. Anyway, my family had one of their routine holiday get-togethers, and I decided to try and be a good child and told my parents that I really don't appreciate it when they put me down, and they can brag about Liz, but would they mind not doing it at my expense? I told them that I would not tolerate it, and, if they started belittling me, I was just going to leave. Fast forward to the dinner, and one of my aunts asks me what I'm studying in college. I replied chemistry, and then my mother said she's not like Liz. Liz is so kind and patient, so she's studying to become a nurse. She's going to actually have a career afterwards, haha. And then my father said you/throwaway generic 56 should have become a psychologist, then maybe she could get over her issues with criticism. Can you believe she specifically asked us not to talk about her? So I left. I apologized to my aunt for making things tense and then walked out. I just walked home and proceeded to not interact with my parents for the rest of the evening. I will admit that I was very hurt by them immediately disregarding what I had asked, but I am proud of myself for not crying over it. I didn't get a 6-year streak for nothing. I'm just really confused. My parents and sister have been periodically shouting at the door to tell me how I put a damper on the evening and was acting really selfish. I don't know how to make myself likable, though. I tried not to get upset by communicating what I wanted beforehand. Why isn't it working? What am I doing wrong? Am I the butthole? Should I have just been more patient? Oh, no. You are not the butthole. You were never the butthole. You had every right to be upset by that weird treatment. You haven't cried since you were 15? Your parents have failed you at every juncture of your life, and you don't owe them crap in the way of explanation at this point. Not the butthole. You are doing everything right. What you are experiencing from them right now is called an extinction burst, when you warn of the consequence for their bad behavior, then actually carry out that consequence. The first reaction from people used to walking all over you is a sudden burst of that bad behavior. You didn't react like they expected, so they're doubling down to see if you fold. This is crucial. Do not give in at this moment. If you do, all they will learn is that you now need even more mistreatment to be kept in line. Hold firm through the tantrums they throw. Once they calm down, then you get to remind them. You warned them very clearly what you would do and then you did it. They should be proud of a kid who follows through. Not the butthole. Your parents randomly butted into your conversation with your aunt, just to roast you no less. They should be the ones apologizing. Would I be the butthole if did not renew my brother-in-law's lease and told him to find another place to live? My Bill has been living in an apartment in my family's 3-unit home since December 2019. When my husband and I offered him the apartment, he was going through a hard time, going through a divorce, unemployed, no car. Because he was my Bill, I told my husband that we should allow him to move in for 6 months, rent-free, to help him get on his feet. I also encouraged my husband to give him an older car we were using infrequently so that he, BIL, could get around and see his kids. So why do I want him to go? Fast forward, over the past 3 years since he has lived in the apartment, I learned that he has been disparaging me heavily to his family, my in-laws, and to my cousin, who used to be like a sister to me. He lies about me and other things. Examples not exhaustive. Told in-laws that I raised his rent by $1K. Truth, he didn't pay rent for 18 months, and after 1.5 years asked him to pay a discounted rate of $800 per month if he was able, and if not suggested we could see if he was eligible for COVID relief. Told people that I was trying to isolate my husband from his family. Truth, my husband has been angry with Bill for years because of how he doesn't take care of his parents/dad and had basically abandoned his firstborn son. I was the one encouraging my husband to keep a relationship with Bill, and to invite his family to spend the holidays with us or vice versa. Told my Sil, and who knows who else, that I was a homewrecker and that I went to my hubby's and his ex-wife's church to be a homewrecker, I suppose. Truth, 1. My husband was separated when we first connected, and 2. I had belonged to that church for decades since I was 8 yo. Hubby and ex-wife joined decades, literally, later. Told people it's not a big deal that my husband gave him a car since he once gave my husband a car when hubby was going through a rough patch. Truth, Bill sold my husband a car that Bill and his then wife weren't using, accepting nothing short of blue book value and a contract. Fails to acknowledge that we loaned him $10,000 that he never repaid, and ghosted my husband for a few years when he asked for bill repayment. So overall, I learned that he covertly has serious animosity toward me and has been crap whispering me to others for years, so I don't want that energy around me or in my properties, let alone for a lower rental rate we could collect. Not the butthole. I'm glad his ex-wife got rid of him, now it's your turn. Hashtag don't feel an ounce of guilt to end his tenancy. And if anyone in your in-laws family guilt trip you over letting him stay, tell them they are more than welcome to take him in. Stay strong on this. The detail helps. Sounds like the Bill has many issues, and to then backstab you and your husband who were true allies is just unbelievable. You are not obligated to renew his lease, but do not be the one to tell him this. Your husband, his brother, needs to be the one to tell him and why. And, you need to give him plenty of warning. If his lease is set to renew this next month, give him a few extra months to find accommodations. His lies may continue to live for a while, but eventually when he has to reach out for help and support from those he's lied to, he will start the pattern anew with them, bad-mouthing them to others. It may take years, but eventually people will realize the type of person he is. In the meantime, you will smartly, as you said, be removing that type of negative energy from your life. Best of luck. Get him out. He can't do much more damage to your name within the family. At least you won't be seething with resentment that he's living at a discounted rate under your roof while bad-mouthing you. You don't mention your husband working to correct the falsehoods. What's up with that? Not the butthole, but I hope you now see why pushing your husband to have a relationship with someone he doesn't want to is a bad idea. Am I the butthole for refusing to transport my patient's wife to the hospital? I am a licensed paramedic in Germany. Today I refused to transport my patient's wife to the hospital. The doctor of my patient was calling for an ambulance, since he was worried about a certain medical condition that he wanted checked in a specialized hospital. Our job was to transport my patient to the hospital's emergency department quite quickly. Not an absolute emergency, but it would not bother if it would be fast. The wife really wanted to stay on her husband's side, which would be okay for me. As we entered the house though, the lady was really mad and unfriendly and rude towards us, the doctor or even her husband. Also she demanded that we would have to transport him in his own wheelchair and not on our stretcher, which is absolutely not possible. I have to ensure the safety of my patient while we drive. I can't do that if there is a large object in my ambulance that it's not supposed to be there. As we moved the patient in our rig, she refused to wear a mask and kept on complaining about the wheelchair situation. I told her that we would like to be quick and that they have wheelchairs at the hospital. Also, I wasn't sure whether the emergency department allowed anyone else but patients in their rooms BC of COVID. At some point she just ignored me, so I said I don't want her in my ambulance and closed the door in front of her nose. Did I act correctly? In my country, I as the paramedic can decide if an accompanying person is allowed to get in or not. This is a repost. A mod allowed me to repost, so I hope it's fine. This was posted in a different version on r/EMS by me yesterday. You didn't call her a rude name. That makes you a saint in my book. I would have. Not the butthole. You describe a situation where your patient's medical care would be compromised by allowing his wife to accompany him, so you acted in his best interest. To add to that, her refusal to wear a mask also put you at risk. You state you're permitted to make a call on whether to allow a companion, so not the butthole, you made the decision in the best interest of your patient. Not the butthole, not even close. You followed the rules and didn't put your patient at risk. As for her to ride with him, she made the decision not to ride by not putting a mask on. She's putting everyone at risk by refusing. And what kind of F-wit is rude to paramedics? Not the butthole. You were following protocol. Am I the butthole for telling my in-laws the truth about my stepdaughter's mother's success? My fiancé had his daughter, my stepdaughter, unexpectedly shortly before we met. Despite being a month apart, he and his daughter's mother could not have more different financial situations. On paper, she is wildly successful. Graduated college with no student loans, stable career, owns her own house outright in a great area, and even has ample money in savings. My fiancé, on the other hand, is buried in student debt, and there's no way we'll ever own a home. My in-laws hate the situation with his daughter. They hate that we live so far away, but more than that, they're embarrassed that we aren't anywhere near as established as her mother is when we're the same age. We're currently stuck where we are, so we can't have that much custody right now, and they understand that. They never fail to bring up how much more stable her mother is, and always have snide comments about everything she's doing that we couldn't even dream of helping with. The truth about her is that she's only financially stable because she's a freaking thief. She stole her parents' estate using a loophole to contest the will even though she knew they wanted her to get nothing, and then proceeded to sell their house for $400K more than it was worth by straight up committing fraud. The poor family that bought the house even tried to sue her but lost due to technicalities. I'm sorry if I'm not willing to sympathize with and praise a woman that used her bad childhood to justify becoming a monster. Okay, fine, she broke generational cycles and only had a child once she was stable, but she only got there by lying, cheating, and stealing until she took absolutely everything she felt she deserved. No matter what it took or who she had to hurt. Yes, she did have a terrible childhood, but she's not a good person now. My fiancé only wants to keep the peace with his parents, so he never says anything. But I'm tired of them making it seem like he's a deadbeat just because he doesn't have as much money as Ms. Bernadette Madoff. When they came to visit a month ago, I printed out all of the court records and laid them out on the table so they would finally have to face the truth. Now they're mad at me for being petty and jealous, and my fiancé is mad because it got him uninvited for Christmas. Am I the butthole? I just wanted them to lose their rose-colored glasses about her. So how do you know the truth about her success? It's quite easy to say who shouldn't get anything, so I doubt a loophole changed anything. Also, you will have to elaborate a whole more on committing fraud for $400K. A fraud of that size would almost guarantee that she would get jailed. Greater than she stole her parents' estate using a loophole to contest the will even though she knew they wanted her to get nothing, and then proceeded to sell their house for $400K more than it was worth by straight up committing fraud. The poor family that bought the house even tried to sue her but lost due to technicalities. There's a lot more to this than what you either know or are saying. She stole her family's estate by contesting the will. No lawyer would have taken on the probate case if it was illegal because they wouldn't get paid by someone without inheritance rights. The judge awarded her the estate. She was the rightful heir. End of. You're the butthole. Get over your envy and jealousy. It will only destroy your own life. Your in-laws are crafty to their son. That's what you are most angry about. Instead of addressing that, you went through a whole lot of effort to take down another woman's life. It makes you petty in your husband and in-laws' eyes. You should have discussed this with him instead of acting alone. Now he feels separate from you instead of in a partnership. He needs your support more than you need to fight your in-laws. Focus on your relationship more than the ex. You're the butthole. It wasn't your truth to tell. If she is that big of an incompetent thief, sooner or later she would have gotten caught and the truth would have come out on its own. Outing their granddaughter's mother only made you look small. I printed out all of the court records and laid them out on the table so they would finally have to face the truth. Now they're mad at me for being petty and jealous. If I was them, I would think you put way too much time and effort into the research and preparation for the big reveal. It sure sounds like you hate the ex. And that makes you look petty and jealous. I have to agree with them. You're the butthole. Am I the butthole for sending our family back home early after getting food poisoning? My partner, 35 male, Sam, and I, 35 female, have been together for 6 years, with a 3-year-old James. I've had long COVID for the past year, and Sam has taken on most of the household responsibility as I have been completely bedridden. He has had a lot of help from my family, who take James 3 days a week. He also goes to daycare. Sam has been fed up with my health not improving and wanted to go to India where he for some reason thought I'd get better medical care. I was completely against this, knowing I wouldn't be up for traveling, that I'd be in a foreign country with no help. We'd be staying with his parents in a very small apartment in India. We live in Australia. We fought about this for a month, and he eventually wore me down. With long COVID, I have extreme brain fog and can't focus or concentrate for very long. Throughout our relationship we've had many ups and downs, and he would get extremely angry with me over small things, over cooking chicken, not putting something back in the correct place, and would lecture me until I would break down and have a panic attack. He would then convince me that it was my fault, and I would end up apologizing. Looking back, it seems so crazy. On this trip, I've been bedridden in his parents' house, while Sam has been out with friends and getting a tattoo, a sleeve, so a 3-day process. I begged for some alone time and quiet, and he eventually booked me into a hotel for 3 days. James was with his grandparents for 4 nights, so I thought we could have some time to connect. The first night in the hotel, Sam had been playing cricket and then had dinner with his friends. I was feeling unwell, deli belly, and when we got back to the hotel told Sam that I thought I was going to throw up and asked if he could get me a bucket. He got extremely upset and said he was fed up with taking care of me. He left, while I begged him to stay. I was very sick and throwing up in the bathroom for hours. I called him multiple times, which he ignored, and messaged begging for help as I thought I'd need to go to hospital for. Luckily I didn't. I called my parents and we organized for me to leave early and to stay at their house. I'm feeling a little better now, and Sam is trying to convince me that I shouldn't be angry as he's looked after me all year, and he's feeling stressed for organizing this trip and looking after James and me. Should I leave him? Am I the butthole for being angry? He's so good at making me feel guilty for getting angry. Duh. And I'm gonna be that guy and say, grab her kid, leave him ASAP. He sees you as a burden and an inconvenience. He does not care for you anymore because it's impeding on his fun. He is extremely selfish and inconsiderate. He goes overboard and stresses you out, which is not helping you heal. He leaves you alone to suffer while he goes out and has fun. He is stressed over a trip that he wanted, which is something he planned. Red flags after red flags, and it's only going to get worse if you don't nip this in the bud. Good luck. Edit. Also, not to mention the gaslighting. You deserve better. Him getting you a hotel room isn't an act of service to you but to himself. Not the butthole. Let your parents get you James tickets and get yourself home ASAP. Get your passports now and make sure you have them. Yes, it is difficult caring for an ill partner who has no idea if / when they will get well. But it sounds like your husband was an before you were sick. He's taken you to a country you are unfamiliar with, he's dumped you on his parents, and he's out living the life. You need to get out of there while you can. You have family friends back in Australia that will be there for you. You have a support system, and you know how things work in your community. You're not necessarily safe where you are now. Am I the butthole because my partner smothers me in bed? I have seen this go both ways, so I'm here to take whatever judgment y'all see fit. So, I'm not going to go into a bunch backstory. It seems sort of irrelevant too. My F31 partner M42 and I share a queen-sized bed. He likes to be close to me while we / before we fall to sleep, and I don't mind it for the most part. Even though I am a pretty light sleeper. It's when he decides to put an entire half of his body on me or stays up next to me long enough to make me sweat that I have the most issue with. I have never really had a problem, major, anyway, where sleeping in bed with someone bothered me. I grew up the oldest of 5 kids. We shared beds a time or two. I don't move around when I sleep much. But he likes to, so I end up scrunched up all the way up to the side of the bed in order to not get rolled over on. Intentionally, or otherwise. It isn't a space thing or that I don't like him next to me. It's that he is heavy. I won't mention the snoring because I know he can't help that, but am I the asshole for telling him over and over not to put his legs and his arms over me? Tonight he came in after his shift and went in for what I can only call a full body cuddle, and I kicked at his leg to remind him that I asked him not to do that. He gets angry and starts to shout and puff about me and the way I am. I'm not a big person. He is 6 and I'm 5'3". I don't know if that matters or not. But his limbs are really heavy and difficult to sleep under. I get that maybe I shouldn't have shoved at him with my foot. It's just frustrating when I have asked him not to and he does it anyway just because I have accepted it before. I can hardly get rest when I lay next to him. So I have really only been sleeping while he is awake. Today was different because he works at night. So he came home this morning after working. I want to make this short, so I'm ending here. I can manage most other things, just seems that he doesn't care if I am comfortable. Greater than I have asked him not to and he does it anyway just because I have accepted it before. Greater than he doesn't care if I am comfortable. You're right, and it's not cool. Not cool at all. But say it with words, every time. Stop it, you know I have told you that's uncomfortable for me, why are you doing it again? Not the butthole. Not the butthole. Some people are really hot, cuddly sleepers. It can be annoying. Nudge him away. P.S. I recommend a king-sized mattress. You can sleep apart, you know. Not the butthole. You set a boundary that he knows of and doesn't seem to care about. If anything, you should tell him once again why it disturbs you, and listen to his point as well. Shoving him off might have been hurtful to him, but that's what he gets for pushing your set boundary. Am I the butthole for putting down my friend's cat that she gave away to me? Background: I've been friends with this woman for 9 years. She messaged me randomly 3 days before Christmas Eve 22. She tells me she has a stray cat that she would love to take in but can't. The cat had swelling in her mouth and was drooling all over herself for a month. She was leaving the country by Friday. I was upfront with my friend and told her that I wouldn't be able to take in the cat but that my partner would. My friend agreed. We asked about the cat's medical history but she said she didn't know anything. On Thursday, I pick up the cat. She is in a bad condition. My friend then tells me that she has been caring for this cat for 7 years, but she doesn't know anything. The vet says that he is 99% sure that the cat has cancer. There's a tumor in her mouth. It goes down her throat, maybe has 3 weeks left to live, but his recommendations are to put the cat to sleep. Treatment will not help. Immediately we tell her everything. She asks to keep the cat alive until she's starved. I give my friend my partner's phone, tell her to talk to him directly since he has the cat. She has her BF call him instead. My partner tells him the same thing. He agrees with our choices. We tell our friend that she can come get the cat back or we'll follow the vet's advice. Friday, the vet is closed cause of the weather. We give her another chance to come pick the cat up from us but she doesn't. We are clear about what is going to happen. Saturday the vet calls, says the results do not look good, suggest putting her down. We considered the cat our own since she didn't want her back. We decided that the most humane thing for our new cat is to put her down, not let her suffer anymore. She would have froze to death on Friday otherwise, minus 21 degrees Fahrenheit. I offer to mail my friend some of the cat stuff. She offers to pay for the shipping. She asks us to get the body back but we tell her the vet closed and wouldn't be open until Tuesday. Tuesday we call the vet. They mention that the body has already been taken to be cremated. So I ship the cat stuff to Canada. Tuesday night she messages me, says that she was able to get the cat's body back. Me and my BF are confused since the vet said that the cat had already been taken to get cremated. So we call the agency, says that she used my partner's personal info, name, address, phone etc., pretended to be him to get it back. So we asked for her to pay us for the cremation that didn't happen, the shipping that she offered to pay. She got mad at me, told me that we were in the wrong for not being upfront clear about our choices, even though we were multiple times. She stopped answering my messages, blocked me. I understand why she thinks we are the bad people. I understand she's hurting, but it feels unfair that she gave us a cat then got mad that we didn't let the cat starve to death just so that my friend would be happy. So am I the butthole? Not the butthole. Greater than keep the cat alive until she's starved. How preposterously cruel. I'm confused. Your friend wanted the cat to starve to death? Not the butthole, and thank God you took the cat and humanely had him / her put down. Does your awful friend have any other pets? Because I'm terrified for them if they do. Not the butthole. Not even close. Who the frick wants a cat to starve to death? You did the right thing by putting it down. Am I the butthole for not letting my friend's girlfriend inside for New Year's Eve? I, 21 male, was organizing a New Year's Eve party at my parents' house. My parents usually stay at home for New Year, so I came up with an idea to buy them a 2-day getaway at a hotel / spa. Then I would split the expense among all my friends that were invited to the party. Everyone agreed. The price when split was €30 including food and drinks. I personally think this is not much considering it would be more expensive to rent a house or apartment. Later on, one of my friends, M, invited his +1 GF. She started complaining in our group chat why it's so expensive and why I can't find some cheaper accommodation for my parents. She said Say could easily find a much cheaper apartment. My friend were at the time on my side and I personally thought it was disrespectful. Anyway, her BF paid for him and only partially for her €9 out of €30. When they came to the party on New Year's Eve, I didn't let her in the house because she didn't pay the full amount. Not only because of her disrespectful behavior but also because I didn't find it fair for all other friend who did pay the full amount. This happened last New Year's Eve, 2021, and I am now receiving some heat from my friends. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. This GF is perfectly able to find herself another party. And friend needs to accept that they're not an exception to the rule. Not the butthole. She basically started drama and argument because she felt the cost was too expensive. And she was not willing to pay the difference to be admitted. The only person who was the here was the girlfriend for starting drama. If she's mad at anyone, she should be mad at her boyfriend who didn't pay the full price for her.